everyone, are you ready for another adventure? It's me, Woki, and I'm back with another fake Grand Order video. And today we're going to be talking about the two campaigns that they just announced, basically, which was the Ordeal Call New Duties Unlocked Part 5 and the Valentine's 2026 pre-release campaign. That's going to be today's video. I hope you like it. If you do, feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Both of these should be relatively pretty simple to talk about, but let's see how long it actually ends up taking me, huh? And let's begin. So we'll start with the Ordeal Call New Duties Unlocked Part 5. Very easy thing to talk about. The campaign starts on the 27th of January and it lasts until the 3rd, and you'll be able to get a bunch of stuff that is going to be related to going through the Ordeal Call. New free quest and a high difficulty quest will be added to the Bleached Earth. So if you've made it to the Bleached Earth, then these will be added for you to do. This will be here on the 27th and it will be here permanently. Even though this says until the 3rd, it just means the various kind of things that they've got going on, but this will be permanent. The extra missions will also reward the Torch of the North, Torch of the Nova, and Torch of the Morning Star. So if you're looking to get more unlocked on certain class score stuff, then you can use that for it. And then there will also be some new missions added. Raise 255 servants of any class to the final ascension, and this one goes all the way to 270, and you'll be able to get a Sand of Starlight, Torch of the Morning Star, the Sand of Starlight again, and a Torch of Nova. It's 100 for the Sand of Starlight. And then the other missions added are raise 95 servants to bond level 6, and that one goes all the way to raise 110, so these go up in the increments of 5. And those go 100 Sand of Starlight, 1 Torch of the Morning Star, another Sand of Starlight at 100, and then Torch of Nova. And these will be added on the 27th, and they will be permanently here, always added on there for whenever you reach them. Not to make you try and rush out and say like, oh, I need to beat it right now. No, when you get there, you'll get there. Limited missions will be added to the master missions for a limited time. Clearing all the missions will give you 6 St. Quartz, 25 5 EXP, 10 Stargazer's Teapots, and a Sand of Starlight times 100. The mission period for these are the 27th until February 3rd, and then the claimability goes up until February 12th, which means that if you complete them, but for whatever reason you decide not to fill them out, then you have until the 12th to collect them. And Stargazer's Teapots usage, you have until the 12th to also use those. And then after that point, they will go away forever from wherever your things are in there. And the missions are challenge any high difficulty quest on the Bleached Earth 1 time. Complete any free quest on the Bleached Earth 1 time. Complete any free quest on the Bleached Earth 3 times. Complete any free quest on the Bleached Earth 6 times. And then complete any free quest on the Bleached Earth 9 times. Battle results of clear, withdrawal, or defeat will be counted for the mission. Challenge of any high difficulty quest. So if you feel like, oh, I can't beat this at all, as long as you challenge it, that's all they care about. Even if you just go in there and immediately back out. If you want to do that and save it for a later time, then you can certainly do that. But just make sure anything to get these missions done on time, make sure to do it. Main quest progress missions added to the master missions for a limited time. Clearing all these will give you 9 St. Quartz, and the mission period for this is the 27th until February 3rd. And the claimability period goes until February 12th. The missions that are added are complete 1 main quest node of part 1 or part 2 for Ordeal Call 1, and then it goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and clearing all those give you 9 St. Quartz. 1 St. Quartz is tied to each of them. Relatively simple enough. And then if you have cleared all of them, then you simply just get them all and you don't have to worry about anything. AP costs reduced for main quest through part 2 chapter 7 and Ordeal Call 1 for a limited time. During the period below, main quest in part 1 and part 2 through chapter 7 will have AP costs reduced to 1/4. For the Ordeal Call 1 will have AP costs reduced to 1/2. AP costs will be reduced even if you withdraw from battle. Take advantage from this opportunity to progress through the main story. The campaign period is the 27th until the 3rd. Eligible quests are main quests part 1, part 2 through chapter 7 for the 1/4 AP cost, and the 1/2 is clearly just main quest Ordeal Call 1. Please note that the main quest part 2 chapter 5.5 chapter 6.5 and pseudo singularities and main interludes will not be eligible. As AP costs for main quest through part 2 chapter 7 has been permanently halved, those will return to 1/2 cost following the end of this campaign. Just in case you thought they say this every single time. Hey, it doesn't count for these. I just like reading it because that one person told me surely Trauma at least one of these days is going to get a discount. And I have to keep reminding them, nope, not yet. 1/2 AP cost for free quest on the Bleached Earth for a limited time. Free quests on the Bleach Earth will have their AP cost halved during this period below. AP cost will be halved even if you withdraw from the battle. Take advantage of the opportunity to play free quests on the Bleached Earth. Campaign period is the 27th to the February 3rd. Free quests on the Bleached Earth exclude free quests in Ordeal Call 1, and storm pods will still be expended as normal. You're not going to use half a storm pod to do it. These been going on for so long, but I actually really do appreciate them because it makes me be able to hold some of my storm pods to like 6 and be able to knock them all out with a single HP bar and go from it there. Continue item Leyline Stones will be returning, so if you're having trouble with some fights, Leyline Stones will give you a free revive. 3 of them will be given as login, and then you can buy some more from the Da Vinci shop down here, which you can get a stock of 10 of them, and then mana prisms will cost 10 per each of them. So if you need them, they'll be there for you. And once again, it goes from the 27th to the 2nd of February. And that's the basic rundown for the Ordeal Call New Duties Unlocked Part 5. Such a big wordy thing. And now we'll go ahead over to Valentine's Day to talk about that real quick. And here we are for the Valentine's 2026 pre-release campaign, and we will begin. The event bonus eligible servants will be revealed early, plus there will be a campaign to help strengthen these event bonus servants, such as 1/2 AP cost for interludes and rank up quests and 2 times friend points gained. And this campaign period will go from the 27th to the 3rd. Also, if you're wondering, hey, if this pre-release campaign, it must mean that Valentine's Day is coming up pretty soon. Currently it's scheduled to be early February. When early February is a little bit wonky. This one says the campaign period goes until the 3rd, and then we did also get this social media thing right here where it says this goes until the 2nd. So maybe likely we start sometime on the 2nd when we do the classic bit here where we go into maintenance on the 2nd, and then on the 3rd at super late at night for me, usually most of the time, the event goes up, but they haven't given a hard date, so I can't really say for sure if I know it. They just keep an eye on see when the maintenance happens. When maintenance happens, that's when it's going to be the start of the event, or when they announce a live stream. They haven't done that yet, so I can only guess when it is. Early February is pretty nebulous in terms of what you could choose to pick for. But anyway, continue on. Pre-release special accrued login bonus for a limited time. We will distribute a special login bonus to commemorate the release of the limited time event Valentine's 2026. Login 7 times, counted once per day during the period below to receive a silver fruit, a golden fruit, a hero crystal, star foe. That's like his full government name. I usually just call it the 3-star foe of HP. Times 5, and then the attack foe is also 5, and then 5 million QP, and mana prisms times 50. The login period is from the 27th to the 4th, and the masters who have cleared Singularity F, Flame Contained City, Fuyuki, will be eligible. So make sure you beat Fuyuki. It should be extremely easy. It's how you're supposed to get it done. Anyway, the special accrued login bonus is going to be done in the following, which is the silver fruit, the golden fruit, the 2 million QP, and then it's the HP foes, then it's the attack foes, then it's 3 million QP again, and then finally at the end it's the mana prisms. And login bonuses will be distributed from the regular time as always from when you log in. Up to 7 login bonuses are available, but depending on when you become eligible, you may not be able to receive all the awards. Basically their way of saying if you start on the last day of this, don't expect to get everything. Advance notice event bonus eligible servants, which is a lot of the old past ones, and I was gonna say a lot of the passwords, old past 5-star Valentine's Day units, and Christopher Columbus and MASH. This is quite the team now that I look at it. When you see, oh yes, all the 5 stars of the past, MASH, the girl that's always there, and of course fucking Christopher Columbus is also here. Anyway, the event eligible servants are of course Bride Nero, Sei Shonagon, Christopher Columbus, Murasaki Shikibu, Semiramis, Mysterious Heroine X Alter, Caren, or more Caren, however you'd like to pronounce her, Pope Joanna, Bazett. I'm not even gonna try and announce what the other alter ego name is. I think it's tough because this one you need, like, how it's looked at to me is not how you're supposed to actually say it, but I think it's Mananon Meklir, maybe. And Mash Light. I also said her full government name in that one. But anyway, During the limited time event, Valentine's 2026, certain servants will gain an attack strength bonus and a bond point gain bonus as well within the event quest. Strengthen the eligible servants to help you out in these events. 2 times friend points for event bonus servants limited time. You'll get double the friend points if you choose one of one of those units, and this will go from the 27th to the 3rd. 1/2 AP cost for event bonus servants interludes limited time. AP cost 1/2 for a limited time. So for Bride Nero, Sei Shonagon, Christopher Columbus, Semiramis, and Mysterious Heroine X Alter, if you have not completed their interludes, this is your chance to do it now. And the same will also be true for the rank up quest. These units will finally get their rank up quest half off, which are again Bride Nero, Sei Shonagon, Murasaki Shikibu, Semiramis, Mysterious Heroine X Alter, and Caren. And then rank up quest will also be made available for Sei Shonagon and Murasaki Shikibu. Funny enough, when I talked about last, when I said like it's weird that they don't have the Erishkigal rank up, but they most recently went back and added it. I noticed that when I was getting ready for this site here, so I told you it was coming. I just like they just decided to hide it for a little bit. But anyway, I'll go over this in a little bit. The release date for these are going to be on the 27th, so you'll be able to get them right away. Actually, I can probably talk about okay, I'll go. And then we have the banner times for them, which is the pre-release pickup summons, which will be on the 27th to the 5th of February. 7 limited time servants will be featured across 7 pickup summons, plus each pickup summon will feature a limited time craft essences from the Valentine's event where the pickup servant debuted, which is of course, as we go into them, Pope Joanna, Bazett, Caren, Sei Shonagon, Murasaki Shikibu, Mysterious Heroine X, and Nero Claudius, or Bride Nero as I've been calling it for now. That's going to be the likely order. Oh, no, it's not actually. So Pope Joanna will be the first one showing up on the 22nd, and then on the 20th, and her banner will last until the 30th. Bazett shows up on the 28th and goes until the 31st. Caren shows up on the 29th and then goes until the 1st of February. Sei Shonagon shows up on the 30th, and then her banner ends on the 2nd of February. Murasaki Shikibu shows up on the 31st, and her banner lasts until the 3rd. Then next is Mysterious Heroine X Alter, where hers starts on the 1st and goes until the 4th. And then finally Bride Nero, which will show up on the 2nd and then go up until the 5th. And that's how it goes, and they will all have various Valentine's Day. So if you missed out on any of the Valentine's Day CEs that you really care about, that you really want, either for the art or for the effect, like this really nice shot here for Love's Delusion, which is an SR, you can choose to summon on them for that very reason. You can see here Chocolate Heaven. There's some really bitter and sweet. Actually, now that I go further, there's actually a lot of really good ones. There it is. Street Choco Maid. This one was an amazing CE. I mean, I also really like the kitchen one. Actually, I really like this year's a whole bunch now that like the Bride Nero came out with some really good ones for Valentine's Day. The Tiger Drop one I think is very cute for sure. And now we'll go over the servants. I'm gonna try and make this as quick as I can because it is 7 servants and the video currently is like 13 minutes long. But if you want to just a real quick and easy for a lot of these, because of the year, it's the year of the collab, you should really be very careful on what units you are going to be summoning for. If you really like one of these units, then obviously you should go for them. Either you like them or you want to get extra copies for them, or maybe you have future plans to get them to Grand. I think it probably makes sense to go for them, and that's my kind of advice for a lot of these who are not units who are brand new coming out. And yeah, that should be it. So if you want to hear me actually talk about it, we'll go over them real quick, but that's my quick advice for it. And now we'll begin shortly, so give me a sec to switch over and cut. Alright, after a cut, here we are to the wiki, which is slightly easier for me to take a look at. We'll start with Pope Joanna, and we'll go over it right now. Pope Joanna is a limited servant. She is a ruler. She has 2 quicks, 2 arts, 1 buster, 4 hits on quick, 3 hits on arts, 3 hits on buster, 5 hits on extra. Her active skills are Saint of Imaginations. A increases one ally's critical star absorption of arts cards for 3 turns, increases their critical damage of arts cards for 3 turns, and then gains critical stars every turn for 3 turns. 5,000 to arts absorptions, 100% up arts crit damage, and then the star regen is 10 on a cooldown of 6. Her second skill is the Shun Popple Procession, C. Increases party's arts performance for 3 turns, grants party the debuff immunity for 1 time 3 turns, reduces party's damage taken for 3 turns, charges on MP gauge, 20% to arts, damage taken is minus 1,000, and then 30% to NP, and this is on a cooldown of 7. Her third skill is the Disputation of the Pope EX, and charges party's NP gauge every turn for 3 turns, increases party's attack for 3 turns, 20% to NP regen, and 20% to attack on a cooldown of 8. Her passive skills are Magic Resistance EX, Territory Creation A. Her third skill is an Anti-Rider Attack Damage Aptitude. And her noble phantasm is the Legatum Papal Thronus, the Offering Prayers for the Radiant Throne of Glory. Rank A, anti-unit, self, hits 3 times, its arts, increase own damage against enemies with the evil alignment by 50% for 1 turn, activates first, deals damage to all enemies, inflict buff block for 1 time 3 turns to them, MP level 1 it's 450%, and if you get them all the way to level 5 it's 750. Deals extra damage against man attribute. Charge level 1 it's 150%, and if you get it all the way to the final charge level it's 200%. And then finally their bond CE is my thoughts, my records. When equipped to Pope Joan, increases party's damage against enemies with the evil alignment by 15%, and then also increases the party's damage against man attribute enemies by 15% while she is on the field. And that is Pope Joan. How do I feel about her? I feel very conflicted in a lot of ways. I really do like Pope Joan. She ends up being a little bit awkward to use. Obviously the thing that she benefits that's really nice is the ability to give anyone 100% crit damage, which is super key in a lot of ways. A lot of the times crit damage can come pretty hard for a lot of arts units, so a unit being able to just go 100% is really nice. She has a really nice just side benefits as well, like to the party and to everyone. Increases their MP gauge, increases their attack, increasing their arts performance, and giving herself her MP gauge charging and all that. Debuff immunity can come in really handy sometimes, reducing damage, all very nice in theory on paper. The problem is that she ends up just hitting really weak, so really realistically the amount of she can in theory loop, but a lot of the times you're gonna run into a damage problem with damage, in which case it'd probably be best if you had her at a higher NP level to kind of compensate. But if you're not fighting against man attributed and then also just give them a little bonus of the evil, sometimes she'll just kind of fail to kill, and that can be kind of killer in a lot of ways. She also only hits 3 times for arts, which is not ideal. It's okay because it's still manageable because it's arts, but it would have probably been much better if she hit a little bit more. Funny enough, the ability to give yourself a little bit of NP gauge back does help a little bit with that, for sure. Being able to get 20% back, it does make sense. But yeah, for the most part, I think she ends up being one of those units that if you find a very niche kind of use for her, then I think she ends up being able to go it. Like if you were in maybe a challenge quest type fight, or you were fighting against a bunch of moon cancer enemies that take bonus damage for rulers, I think she would actually do very well at that. But otherwise you kind of have to force yourself to use her in a lot of ways. If you try and use her in ways that you think like, oh, anyone could do this, and then it turns out, you might falter a little bit. And I don't like to say that because I really do like Pope Joanna, but I think she ends up being just like okay to really good in some specific scenarios depending on if you put her in there. But that can be said for a lot of units, but definitely still usable, not unusable, not like full on like this needs to be salvaged. I don't feel that way. I think if she actually probably got a little bit of a buff in some other kind of ways, she would be probably rock solid from that point on. But for right now, I think she's a decent unit that could use a little bit of help. At least that's how I feel. If you feel different, please let me know. I remember there was one guy a long time ago in the comments who was like, nah, she is the kind of way to go if you're looking for arts crit damage, but I didn't necessarily agree with him, but I did read what he had to say, and I thought it was very interesting to kind of read from another perspective, which you can always do whenever I talk about any unit. I'm definitely not infallible. Is that the right word? No, I don't know what I'm making. It's late at night. It's like 3 a.m. I'm gonna continue on. Bazett, she is an alter ego who is also limited. She has 2 quicks, 1 arts, 2 buster, 6 hits on quick, 3 hits on arts, 2 hits on buster, 5 hits on extra. Her active skills are Sealing Designation Enforcer A, increases own quick performance for 3 turns, increases buster performance for 3 turns, increases own crit damage for 3 turns, and then increases own damage against caster enemies for 3 turns. 30% to quick, to buster, and to crit damage, and to casters, cooldown 6. I don't know why I was like struggling there at the end. It shouldn't have been that hard. Sea God's Rune, Rune? Never mind, I'm not going to start this. Rank EX, charges own NP gauge, increases own critical star absorption for 1 turn, increases own crit damage for 1 turn, 50% to NP, the absorption is 500%, and the crit damage is 100% on a cooldown of 6. Her third skill is the Secession of the Red Branch EP, and grants self-evasion for 1 turn, grants self-debuff immunity for 1 turn, gain crit stars, 20 crit stars, and this is on a cooldown of 5. Her passive skills are Magic Resistance B, Writing A, Divinity B, God's Holder, the Traditional Carrier EX, increases on crit damage for 5%, and then also extends offensive buffs expiration timing on self from the end of the player turn to the end of the enemy turn. This is going to be kind of key pretty soon, but you'll see why. Third skill, Anti-Avenger Attack Damage Aptitude, increases zone damage against the Avenger enemies, and then her Noble Phantasm is Fraggle Rock. Shoutouts to Fraggle Rock, as I always bring it up every time I look at this Noble Phantasm. Gouging Sword of the War God, rank EX, it's a counter and it's a quick. Draws attention to all enemies to self by 500% for 1 turn, grants self the Fraggle Rock counter status for 1 turn. Fraggle Rock counter hits a one time 100%. Quick type Noble Phantasm card attack, treated as neither a buff nor a debuff. Deal damage to 1 enemy when taking attack or becoming target of active skills by them, except for some special actions. If the enemy has a break gauge, the counterattack cannot break it and the HP remains, and 1 HP remains. Reduces their quick resistance by 10% for 3 turns, and then gain turn crit stars. The special note here, if a buff block skill is used by the enemy on Bazett, and if her Noble Phantasm is used after that, then the attack up and the taunt effect on her Noble Phantasm will be blocked, but the Fraggle Rock counter will be successfully cast in succeeding action. If the enemy ever uses an AoE attack or an attack aimed at her, or uses an AoE debuff or a debuff aimed at her, she will be able to counter these actions. If a buff removal skill is used by the enemy on Bazett after her Noble Phantasm is used, both the attack up and the taunt will successfully get removed, but then the Fraggle Rock counter will not get removed. This buff removal is treated as a normal action by the enemy, so she will be able to counter it. It's succeeding action if the enemy either uses an AoE attack or an attack aimed at her, or uses an AoE debuff or a debuff aimed at her, she will be able to still counter these actions. If Bazett is immovable debuff, Fraggle Rock counter will not be activated. The counter will also not trigger when her HP is reduced to 0 by an enemy attacked. However, if she is revived by Guts, the counter will be activated. Also, if she is sacrificed by Chen Gong's NP while in a gut state, the counter will not trigger. Angramanyu's reflect damage also cannot trigger the counter. The Fraggle Rock counter can bypass the enemy having taunt. The Fraggle Rock counter will also retaliate against the attacker regardless of whether another enemy has taunt. The Fraggle Rock counter will be activated if NP Drain debuff is used by either enemy on the party or targeted on Bazett itself. At MP level 1, the Fraggle Rock counter damage is 600% all the way to 1000, and then the overcharge effect is an increased own attack for 1 turn. This activates first, 10% at charge level 1, and if you get them all the way to the final charge level, it's 30%. And then their Bond CE is N bar. Increase own MP damage by 30%, and then grant self gut status for 1 time, revives with 20% HP. And that is Bazett. How do I feel about Bazett? I think Bazett is a cool ass unit. And every kind of fragment of the mind, I think that this is a really cool unit, down from design to look to how she actually functions with the counter. So if there was a single negative, which is not a negative to me, but if it was a negative to anyone else, it's likely this is not a unit for someone who does not want to deal, who wants like a simple beatdown. The Fraggle Rock counter is a little bit different in that you have to have a little bit more thinking, I guess. Even though it's not that much. I know I just read like a whole buttload of stuff that is related to the Fraggle Rock counter, but I swear to you, it's not that difficult. But basically the way it works is that if you get targeted for the attack, or you're going to be attacked for anything, the Fraggle Rock counter will activate, and then she'll just punch the shit out of whatever the hell's in front of her. The reason that the buff status has to last till the end of the enemy turn is because obviously the buffs last until your turn. So if all the attack buffs would go away, because offensive buffs, there's no point in having an offensive buff during your opponent's turn. You're not going to be able to attack them, but because Bazett can, you definitely need the ability to do that. The Fraggle Rock counter is really cool because the way it kind of functions means that if you're really good and you're using Bazett in a really solid team, you're actually able, through Break Bar, you're able to 2-turn a break bar boss that would take normally 3 turns. The way you would do it is that on the first turn, you would break their break, and then on the enemy turn, they would attack you, and then you would hit back with the Fraggle Rock counter, and you would get them down to a single HP, and then on your turn, you're able to break down that HP bar, and then they're on their normal base bar, and then on turn 2, they go to attack you, and then you kill them again with the counter because you use the counter again. And you are able to 2-turn something that would typically take 3 turns, because an AoE would be turn 1, you hit him with the AoE or the single target, and turn 2, you hit him with the AoE or the single target, and then on turn 3, you hit him with the AoE or single target once again. But Bazett, the way she functions is she's able to use her base attacks, she's able to take them down in that kind of way, and the fact that there's a unit that's like this, it's just so damn cool to me. It really is. Obviously probably not for everyone. This is one of those units that definitely is, now that I've looked into, like, hey, are there any white whales left for me? Really, there are a couple, and Bazett is one of them, just because every single time I've ever used her, I think she's always been really cool. Obviously, Alter Ego, some people also don't like to use Alter Egos because sometimes it can be a little bit wonky with like damage wise. Like, obviously, if you're fighting against a team that is like mixed of 2 dudes, she's not going to be able to do full damage to one of them or the other side of them. But if you're specifically using her to take down the right people, she can take them down really quick. The boss in Lost Belt 7 with her, I was able to melt it down super crazy easy, and I was just using a friend Bazett. If I had my own, she would have been dealing way more damage. I think, again, really cool unit. Whether or not you decide to go for her, it's up to you. I, unfortunately, as someone who really wants her but understands the way the year is going, I've chosen to not go for her. But maybe, hopefully, she's probably, I'm gonna have to look up and see some other stuff, but it is one of those ones where, like, if I ever had the spare Saint Quartz for, I would probably definitely go for, but that's Bazett. Let's move on to another unit. I know I said, like, hey, this is gonna be really quick, and then I got to the Fraggle Rock counter and I started laughing because I was like, oh, I forgot how long this is. I do that every single time I ever talked about her, is that I always, like, explain everything on the unit, including the little extra notes. So now this video is gonna be really long, but it's okay. Hopefully you're enjoying it. And let's continue on with Caren. She is a ruler. She's also limited. She has 2 quicks, 2 arts, 1 buster, 4 hits on quick, 3 hits on arts, 3 hits on buster, 5 hits on extra. Her active skills are the Holy Shroud of Saint Valentine. A, grants self invincibility for 3 attacks, 3 turns, grants self the regeneration buff for 3 turns, absorbs the party's NP gauge except for self by 10% every turn. The amount of NP drained on allies equals to the amount of NP charged by the skill user. Grants party invincibilities attack except for self for 1 attack 3 turns, increases party's NP generation rate for 3 turns, 20% to NP rate, and this is on a cooldown of 6. Her second skill is the Golden Arrow A, 500% chance to draw attention to all enemies to self by 300% for 1 turn, and then charges your own NP gauge, reduces all enemies' NP gauges by 1, reduces their attack for 3 turns, and reduces their defense for 3 turns. 30% to the NP, 20% to the attack, 20% to the defense, and this is on a cooldown of 7. The third skill is Mana Burst Love A. Increases his own quick performance for 3 turns, increases his own arts performance for 3 turns, increases his own buster performance for 3 turns, and then charges out your own NP gauge, and then reduces 1 enemy's NP gauge by 1. 20% to quick, arts, buster, and NP, and this is on a cooldown of 6. Her passive skills are Item Construction A, Independent Action A, the Masochistic Spiritualistic Disposition, Rank EX, 500% chance to reduce your own debuff resistance by 20%, treated as a buff, but it's a demerit. Increase own attack by 20% while self has debuffs. The note here, the demerit is considered as a buff, so the passive does not trigger itself. Attack buff can be triggered by the demerit of passive skills or craft essences such as the Avenger passive skills debuff resistance down, the Black Grail's curse debuff, and so on. Goddess Essence B, and the Iron Willed Faith A, which is a grant self terror debuff immunity and grant self charm debuff immunity, and then also increase your own buster resistance by 10%. Her third skill is an anti-archer attack damage aptitude, and her Noble Phantasm, after a strengthening, is the greatest hits calling Agape, universal free infinite love, rank EX, anti-unit, hits 5 times, it's quick, deals damage to all enemies, deals 150% extra damage against enemies with the chaotic alignment, reduces their quick resistance by 20% for 3 turns, and then inflict buff block status for 1 time 3 turns to them. At MP level 1, it's 800%, and if you get them all the way to MP level 5, it is 1200, and then the overcharge effect is an increased own MP damage for 1 turn. This activates first, it's 10% at charge level 1, and then if you get it all the way to the final charge level, it's 30%. For their ascension, there is a Devil Caren, which is them in all pink or purple hair, pink face, something like that. And their bond CE is Singing in the Spring. When equipped to Caren, increases party's MP generation rate when taking attack by 25% while self is on the field. And that is Caren. So how is Caren? She's really good. She's really solid. I remember that a long time ago I said I don't really see much in Caren, and then a very passionate Caren fan yelled at me and told me how Caren was actually the best AoE quick unit at that time. And even at that time I did disagree with them because I thought Doman was the best, even though I don't like Doman as a person. As a unit, he's fantastic. But Caren is really good. Obviously, I think that there's probably some other, if you're looking for just an ease of access of a Berserker, there's Rikyu, which is probably a little bit easier to kind of go from there. But if you're looking for a ruler that can give a little bit more buffs and is a little bit more has these abilities like granting self-invincibility and also being able to reduce enemy NP gauge, which can be very useful if you're in a fight that, obviously for farming this means nothing, but if you're in a fight that you wish to use a challenge quest and you want a ruler form, the ability to give the party invincibility is very key. The ability to reduce the enemy NP gauge is also insanely good. Reducing their attack, giving your allies not giving your allies, so giving being able to taunt is very good, is what I was trying to say. Being able to taunt and shield your allies is very good. So yeah, I think she ends up being pretty solid. Similar to Joanna, this is also good on Joanna. Being able to buff block can come in handy if you're ever in a very annoying challenge quest where they inflict buff block to you. And yeah, if you're fighting against a chaotic alignment, probably if you're not fighting against a chaotic alignment, Again, I don't have Caren. I assume that she would still be pretty okay, but you know, being a ruler, it would help. Actually, it's pretty key that she got a strengthening, because the strengthening takes her from, at MP level 1, it's 600%, and she goes all the way to 800%, which is basically like getting a NP2 when you get a strengthen, which helps a lot with the damage, which is also something that Pope Joanna doesn't have. She also has a lot of other interesting things, like being able to give yourself 20% attack up while debuffed, which is really funny that it also activates with the Black Grail and everything like that. So yeah, I think she's really solid. Whether or not she sounds like the unit for you is, I think, a lot of dependent on a lot of people. I understand that not a lot of people would probably want a ruler unit, and then there's even less people than that who want a quick unit. But if she's someone that you want, she definitely has a lot of cool things for you that you can probably benefit from them. And they're solidly good and can be used in a variety of stuff. Can be used for looping, can be used for some challenge quest stuff if you need a ruler there to kind of hold down the line, or even if you just need someone to get attacked for a bit and taunt the enemy, she can be used for that as well. And now we'll move on to the next unit, Sei Shonagon. I was going to say rank EX, but no, Sei Shonagon. She is a archer. She has 2 quicks, 2 arts, 1 buster, 4 hits on quick, 3 hits on arts, 2 hits on buster, 5 hits on extra. Her first skill is Song of the Poet B, increases party's attack for 3 turns, charges NP gauge by 10% every turn for 3 turns, and then charges the party's HP every turn for 3 turns, 20% to attack, and the HP regen is 1000 on a cooldown of 6. Her strengthening, which is the thing she's going to be getting, is the Afusaka no Seki A++. The strengthening 1 is this. It's also ++. It grants self evasion for 3 attacks, 3 turns. Increases on critical damage for 3 turns, then charges your NP gauge. The crit damage is 30% and the NP up is 30%, and this is on a cooldown of 6. And then if you want to know how it was beforehand, they've increased. It used to be that, I don't know why they gave this to her, I'm going to be honest. Increase on crit damage for 3 attacks over 3 turns, which is awful. Just absolutely awful. They just said, all right, whatever, we'll give it for you for 3 turns. You don't need to just keep it to just 3 attacks, but whatever. And then the MP charge, which is pretty nice. Third skill is the Starry Skies B, increases on quick performance for 3 turns, and then charges on NP gauge, and then gain 10 crit stars, 30% to quick and 20% to NP, and this is on a cooldown of 6. Her passive skills are Magic Resistance C, Independent Action, Self-Centered A, Snow Atop Mount Zhonglu, probably not right way of saying that, increases on crit damage of quick cards by 10%, and then one vehicle teaching B increases own charm debuff resistance by 100%. Her third skill is a anti-alter ego attack damage aptitude, and her noble phantasm is the emotional engine full drive, the pillow book, annotated. Rank D++, noble phantasm type is poetry, hits 4 times, it's quick. Increases own damage against servant enemies with the neutral alignment by 50% for 1 turn. Activates first. Increase own damage against shadow servant enemies by 50% for 1 turn. Activates first, and then deal damage to all enemies. 600% at MP level 1. If you get it all the way to MP level 5, it's 1000. Increases own damage against enemies with the man attribute for 1 turn. Activates first. Charge level 1, it's 50% extra damage against man. If you get it all the way to the final charge level, it's 100. I was about to say 1000, which would be insane, but it's not that. And then her bond CE is Chaldea Picture Diary. When equipped to Sei Shonagon, it increases party's NP generation rate by 10%, and then increases party's critical damage by 10% while self is on the field. And that's Sei. So how is she? Like, not ideal is the nice way of saying it. I'm a big fan of Sei. Funny enough, when she first came out, I really digged her. I really like her. I really like the design of her. I really like the colors that were used here for her. I really like her design. I really like the artist Miko Picasso. This is the literal reason I was able to get into All of Life Promise at the time, which was that they were council back then, is because this is the same artist that does it for Bay. So that wasn't, and Bay looks a lot like Sei. So I really like Sei. I have her, I use her as much as I can, but unfortunately her main gimmick is fighting against shadow servants, and really there's not a whole lot of places you can use her. It is really nice to have like the ability to deal extra damage against enemies of certain attributes, and we can see here there's plenty of units that are like, oh, they can deal so much damage when you get it the right alignment. When they're broken up into 3 different things, it's not very good. It's just not very good, because if you only hit one of them, which is like shadow servants, and they don't hit on neutral and you don't hit on man, that's like 100% wasted stats. And this is the true, even if you were to get all of them, you can never get all of them, because you're just very rarely ever going to be fighting just like a fuck ton of shadow servants, unless you were specifically grinding like some specific nodes. Usually in the grind nodes you don't do this very often, but if you're grinding for sun material, you might fight some shadow servants, so it's just very unfortunate. I'm looking forward to using the strengthening, because being able to give yourself some more MP gauge will help her a lot. A lot of the issues I have with her is that she doesn't usually have enough NP gauge back when you use your AoE, even with the Black Grail. It's kind of a bummer. I'll see how she is after the buff, if I feel a little bit better. But I've always wanted her to be stronger than she is, and I fear that this is just a case of just like, what's the word I'm looking for? I feel like the design just might need to be, I think that Noble Phantasm likely needs to be the next thing buffed up, just because it's usually not enough. But that's how I feel about her. If you have a different opinion on Sei, please let me know. If you know a better way of doing it, I was like, literally, I've tried everything that I can. I went for Summer Chloe specifically with the idea that this would make it easier for me to grind with Sei. and I failed to get her, and that's always bothered me. But anyway, that's enough on that. Again, if you pull for her, you're pulling for her because you love her, which is why I pulled for her, and I've been happily using her in any time I've needed to grind for EXP and fight against some sabers potentially. I'll bring her there. If I'm only fighting sabers and I'm using it in the thing that grinds statues, she's there instantly day one, ready to help me out. But otherwise, you know, it is what it is, unfortunately. We'll move on into Murasaki Shikibu, who is another limited unit who is a caster. Murasaki Shikibu has 2 quicks, 2 arts, 1 buster, 4 hits on quick, 4 hits on arts, 4 hits on buster, 5 hits on extra. Her active skills are Song of the Poet A, reduces all enemies' defense for 3 turns, increases party's damage against demonic enemies for 3 turns, 30% to defense, to reducing defense, and 30% to demonic damage on a cooldown of 6. Her second skill is Witchcraft Lyric D+. Chance to seal 1 enemy's NP for 1 turn. Charges on NP gauge and then increases on NP damage for 3 turns. 80% to the NP seal chance, 30% to NP, and 20% to NP damage on a cooldown of 6. Her third skill, which is after strengthening, is Diary of Murasaki Shikibu B++. Reduces party's damage taken for 3 attacks, 3 turns. Grants party debuff immunity for 1 time, 3 turns. Increases party's buff removal resistance by 100% for 1 turn, 3 turns. And then increases the party's damage against enemies with the chaotic alignment for 3 turns. And then increases the party's damage against the good alignment for 3 turns. Damage taken is reduced by 1,000. The chaotic damage is 30% and the good damage is 30%, and the cooldown is 5. Her passive skills are Territory Creation C+, and Item Construction C. Her third skill is Anti-Lancer Attack Damage Aptitude, increases own attack against Lancer enemies. And then her Noble Phantasm is Genji Monogatari AoE. Aoi? Yeah, it's Aoi, my bad. Fuck me. I got it like, I got the Genji Monogatari and then I fucked up on Aoi. Mononoke. The Tale of Genji, Chapter 9, The Evil Spirit. Rank C, Poetry Noble Phantasm. Hits 6 times its arts. It deals damage to all enemies, inflicts the buff block status for to them for 1 turn, and then the MP level as at level 1 is 450%, and if you get her all the way to MP level 5, it's 750%, and then her overcharge effect is an increase to damage against demonic enemies, 150%, and if you get her all the way to the final level, it is 200%. And then for her Bond CE, it is the Shen Genji Monogatari Emaki. When equipped, Murasaki Shikibu increases party's damage against demonic enemies by 20% while self is on the field, and that is Murasaki Shikibu. So how is she? I think she's really good. She's really solid. I like, this is another one of those cases where it's like, I think it really depends on what kind of player you are. And there's a lot of players who don't see the purpose of DPS focused casters. Either they don't like them for single target uses or for AoE, and they're always like, I can just use another unit. I don't know why I would ever need to use a caster for actual attacking. And I'm someone who actually really prefers to have them like that. I understand that not everyone's like that, but I always think that these kind of units are very good. And I think Murasaki Shikibu is a really solid AoE caster version of that one for sure, especially after her buff giving her a little bit more. I don't know how, obviously she wants to fight demons. I'm not sure, you obviously are going to fight a lot of chaotic demons. That's kind of a given. I'm not sure how much you would do against good, but just being able to kind of give chaotic and good stuff in general is kind of nice. And it also reduces some damage taken, and it also grants some party debuff immunity. Let's see, the old version of it kind of was like this, which is, you know, they've added the 2 buffs here to make it just a little bit better and make you deal just a little bit more for the party. But yeah, probably not for everyone. I also really like Raida. Big fan of Raida. And I think this design for her is very nice too. And also she's a librarian who likes books. I like books. I try and read when I can. See, look at her. She's laying down, ready to read a good old book. I actually have been meaning to try and read The Tale of Genji, because I've heard that it's a very good book. But then I've also heard from other people who have read The Tale of Genji that is maybe not the kind of book that I would typically read, which a lot of the books I read are like fantasy and murder books and sci-fi books, but whatever. You should at least not a lot of romance books in mine. But you know, you never know. May as well give it a shot. But anyway, that's Murasaki Shikibu. I really like her. This is another one that I wish I could justify getting, but I actually have Shirazade at NP2, and I kind of don't need another AoE caster for arts specifically. I can, if I could, I would make the justification, because obviously the main caster I use is Daikokuten, but Daikokuten is a quick AoE caster, so I could always say, oh, but what if I want to use arts? But unfortunately, I have Shirazade. So it's one of those units where it's like, I would really like them, but for the most part, I know that Shirazade would be my girl to go for, unless I was specifically fighting against a demonic enemy, or a demonic wave of dudes. But anyway, let's move on. Mysterious Heroine X Alter. She's a berserker. She has 2 quicks, 1 arts, 2 buster. She has 3 hits on the quick, 2 hits on the arts, 4 hits on buster, 5 hits on extra. Her first skill is the Chestnut Paste EX. It upgrades after Interlude 1 and replaces the Black Bean Paste EX. Chestnut Paste EX increases own healing received for 3 turns, recovers own HP, recovers own HP by 1000 every turn for 3 turns, increases own crit damage against quick cards for 1 attack 3 turns, increases own crit damage of art cards for 1 attack 3 turns, and then increases own crit damage of buster cards for 1 attack 3 turns. That was so mouthy, I had to cough it out. The heal rate is 50%, the healing up is 2000, and the quick arts and buster crit damage up is 30%. Why did they? what? No, you know what, never mind. We're gonna move on. You already know how I feel about like moves that last for a single attack. Well, what's the point of a single attack that gives you 30% more crit? Obviously, this has to be, never mind, I'm moving on. Second skill. Instantaneous Shadowless Blade C+, increases on quick performance for 3 turns and then gains some crit stars. 30% to quick, and the cool stars you gain are 20, and this is on a cooldown of 5. Her third skill is the Sovereign's Invisible Hand C. Reduces one ally's critical star absorption by 100% for 1 turn, and then increases party's attack for 3 turns. The attack up is 20%, and this is on a cooldown of 5. Passive skills are Madness Enhancement C and Alt Reaction A, increases own debuff resistance by 20%. Her third skill is an Anti-Assassin Critical Attack Chance Resistance, and then her Noble Phantasm, after a second strengthening, is Cross Caliber, the Black Dragon Twin Blade of Victory. Its rank EX anti-unit hits 9 times and it's quick. Increases own damage against enemies with the good alignment by 50% for 1 turn. Activates first and then deals damage to 1 enemy. At MP level 1, it's 1600, and if you get her all the way to MP level 5, it's 2400. And then the overcharge effect is an increase of deal extra damage to Saber class servants. Enemies, and at charge level 1 it's 150%, and if you get her all the way to the final charge level it's 200%. And then her bond CE is the Dark Knight Kun, which is, when equipped to her, increases party's damage against Saber enemies by 20% while self is on the field. And that is Mysterious Heroine X Alter. And how is she? I think she's neat. The one thing that's kind of a negative is, the obvious thing is, she doesn't have a guts. And if you don't have a guts on a berserker, you're kind of leaving it to the whims of fate that you're not going to just get one shot, especially in a lot of harder stuff in the game. Plenty of enemies will just simply look at you, crit you once, and then your berserker will just like poof into they just disappear forever. So even though she can heal a lot of the damage she takes, you can't heal when you're already dead, unfortunately, unless you have guts, in which case you can survive the attack and then activate it here. But the fact that she doesn't have guts means you probably have to figure out a way to give it to her, or you're in a fight that it doesn't matter. So the big benefit of using her is, obviously you're going against a Saber and you're looking to kill a Saber. If you're just looking to kill a Saber, she's your girl. She will kill the shit out of that Saber, no problem. She will, especially if they're a servant, I should say. Specifically a servant, and if they're good, even better, she'll deal even more damage to them. So if you're looking for someone who's going to be a big burst of damage, which is what I use my Mysterious Heroine X Alter for most of the time, is I very rarely ever actually bring her for a challenge quest. A lot of the time it's, I'm in a node that I know is going to have one big ass Saber servant, and I just kind of use her to mow them down. Then I think you're going to be working on that. You can use her for that, and I'm sure you can probably try and use them in those harder nodes. If you're a better player than me, you can 100% get away with a unit that maybe can instantly die. A lot of the time, some of the negatives of a lot of units are there to, like, what's the right word I'm saying it? It was like an old adage I've heard from pro card gamers a lot of the time, is that cards and things should have negative things to them, because if there's no negative reason to use something, it becomes very boring. So in a lot of ways, I say here are all the negatives, and to some people they look at it and say that's not the strongest, why should I care? I should use this thing that just has zero benefits, zero disbenefits to them, meaning that I can just use them and they're always effective all the time, while someone else can look at their negatives and see, well, if I use them for whatever reason, I can see that I can still get a lot of benefit if I use them in the correct kind of fashion, kind of get the most out of them, and I can find a lot of fun and enjoyment out of that. But that's obviously a lot of player preference at that point. And then there's the other side of players who look at Mysterious Heroine X Alter and say, this is a Jedi Saber, I should just get her, and then I don't care about any of the other things you just said, Wookie. And to them I say, I wish you the best of luck. You're living the game, you're playing the game probably the best way you should, which is not caring about anything and just going for your faves, and you're gonna figure out a way to make them work, or you don't, and you don't care. Anyway, the final unit, and we can finally end this video because it's almost going to be an hour goddamn long, oh my god, is Saber Nero. She is limited just like all the others. She has 1 quick, 2 arts, 2 buster, 3 hits on quick, 3 hits on arts, 1 hits on buster, 5 hits extra, and her active skills are Stars in Heaven EX, increases 1 ally's MP generation rate for 3 turns and then charges their NP gauge, 45% to NP rate and a 30% to NP charge, and this is on a cooldown of 7. Her second skill is Flowers on Earth A, increases 1 ally's attack for 3 turns, increases their critical star generation rate for 3 turns, 40% to attack and 50% to the critical star generation rate, and this is on a cooldown of 6. Her third skill is Love to the People EX, recovers 1 ally's HP, increases their defense for 3 turns, and then increases their damage against enemies with the Sky attribute for 3 turns. 3,000 to the heal, the defense up is 20%, and the bonus versus Sky damage is 30%, and this is on a cooldown of 5. Her passive skills are Magic Resistance C, Riding B. Her third append skill is an anti-assassin attack damage aptitude, because fuck Lacosta in general, I guess. And her Noble Phantasm after the second interlude is the Fax Celestis, closing rows that fame stars. Rank B++, anti-unit, hits 2 times its arts, it deals damage to 1 enemy. At MP level 1, it's 1,200, and if we get it all the way to MP level 5, it's 1,800. Overcharge effect is Inflict Burn for 5 turns of them, reduces their defense for 5 turns, and then reduces their attack critical attack chance resistance for 5 turns. At charge level 1, it's 1,000, 20% defense, and crit chance is 20%, and if you get it all the way to charge level 5, it's 2,000 burn damage, 40% lowering of defense, and 40% crit chance lowering as well, or reduction I should say. And her bond CE is the Ring of Baylor. When equipped to Bride Nero, increases party's arts performance by 15% while self is on the field. And that's Bride Nero. So how do I feel about Bride Nero? I really like her in like a lot of aspects, not just the fact that it's Bride Nero, so there's really not many reasons. When I first got Bride Nero all those years ago, when she came pretty close to release, I believe both me and my brother had the same idea, which is, this is simply Bride Nero, we're just gonna try and get him. And I was actually able to get him, and it took him a little bit longer to eventually get her at the same time. She's really good as DPS unit. The one thing that she suffers from DPS is that because her Noble Phantasm hits 2 times, remember how I said earlier, an arts unit with 3 hits you can probably make work in a little bit. An arts units with 2 hits, it's a little bit tougher, because the way it works is that the MP generation rate for arts units is done the following, is that you want to get them down as quickly as possible, and then every hit that happens after it is where you get your NP gain back. The problem with this one is that you hit them once, and they go down, let's say for whatever reason they go down, and then you hit them again and then you stop hitting them, so it ends up being that you don't get that much NP gain back. You can usually fix it by hitting them with the other arts cards if you're kind of fighting in a kind of challenge quest type scenario. But if you're someone who is doing this as like maybe you're trying to farm one of those very hard nodes, it's like I need to just kill one dude really quick, then Bride Nero might have a little problem getting her NP back if you're trying to do one on turn 1 and then let's say they come back on turn 3, like the most recent node that we had for Fate Samurai, where it was kind of built like that, where it was a node of 1 enemy, 6 enemies, and then 1 enemy. She would usually get maybe back around 20%, and that's usually not ideal in a lot of scenarios, but that's usually the one scenario where it's not the most ideal. She excels in a lot of other ways. Like, first of all, she's an insanely good support unit. When that Saber fight, the grand fight, comes out later, I can't wait to use her as my main support, because she has the ability to give any unit you want 45% NP generation rate is really fucking good. And then you also charge their NP by 30%. That's crazy. The ability to heal someone, make it so that their defense increased by 20%, and then if you're just so happening to fight a unit that were a unit with the sky attribute, deal a little bit more damage to them. Really nice. Second skill, also just a blanket 40% attack to anyone, and then also increase their critical star generation. I think she's a really solid support unit. I've used her over the years as just a unit to be like, I'm gonna just use her as a support. Sometimes I don't even really need to use, like, I think she's like my second most used art support. It's like Castoria is like number 1 by a wide margin, and then I use Bride Nero, and then after that it would be Oberon for those arts units that really suffer for a lot of things. But the ability to give NP generation rate can help a lot of units, not only arts units, sometimes it can even help quick units. I've been able to use her with quick as well, with 2 Scotties, and maybe sometimes I need the Oberon, but maybe sometimes I don't. Maybe it's enough to just give them some 45% NP generation rate, and that will help them be able to loop with 2 Scotties and 1 Bride Nero. That's just some example of using her. I've always liked her throughout the years. I think she's really solid. I think she's really cool. And if you're a fan of Nero, kind of goes a no-brainer to kind of get them. But you were already likely thinking that. So if you're someone who's like a bigger fan of Nero and you found any of the things I said interesting, I guess that will maybe help you on your decision there. But like I said at the beginning when I was talking about all these units, you don't really need a reason to justify them. You can try finding one the best that you can, and I can try and talk to you and say, here's what I think about the units, but at the end of the day, what you think about them matters the most, and whether you decide to go for them, either to skip them or you say, I think I should go for them, know that I support you in whatever you do. If you want to try and save some more of your Saint Quartz, I'm right there next to you, hoping that you don't get tempted. And if you're someone saying, I'm going for it all in, I'm right there by your side saying, I really hope you succeed, because I never want to see anyone fail in their summons. But that's finally it for the video, everyone. Holy shit, it ended up being an hour long. It's okay, it had been a while since the last video I did, which was the finale to Fate Samurai event, which was also over an hour long. I thank you very much if you made it all the way here at the end. As always, if you want to continue showing support for the channel, you can leave a like, comment, and subscribe, especially if you made it all the way to the end here. Especially for this, I'm like, I don't know who the fuck would want almost an hour long recording of me talking about the most recent event that is coming. It's not even an event, it's the pre-release. Like, no, who wants to hear about this? But I've actually heard back from some people saying, I thank you very much for covering this, because most people are just kind of focusing on JP and they don't really talk about the side stuff like this. And I'll gladly talk about this because I like talking about the game. If I was playing the JP version of the game, I'd be talking about that. But my main way of playing the game is the English version. So that's kind of the one I talk about. But now I'm kind of droning on. We're 2 minutes away from an hour or so. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. As always, I wish you the best of luck if you decide to summon. And if you're not summoning, I understand, because I'm going to be summoning for Andromeda. So that's my main one I'm going for this February. Thanks a bunch, everyone. See you guys in the next one. Until next time, peace out and goodbye. Bye-bye.